Spin it on, don't stop, take it back to the top. Hey everyone, welcome to Princess of Gay. I'm your host Connie, and today we are here with another January randomized movie reaction. We're going to keep this short, keep this simple. We're just going to get into this, but before we do, I want to let you all know, if you're new to the channel, what this is. So for the entire month of January, I've decided to do this thing where I'm going to put 36 options onto a randomizer wheel, and excuse me, sorry about that. I put 36 options onto a randomizer wheel, spin it, and just randomly go with whatever movie is chosen. All of these options are choices that you guys have given me via donation rewards. So we're just randomly spinning it to see which one we get to next, basically. And it's the entire month of January. So all movie reactions this month for weekend movie reactions have been like this. The only exception is like Wicked, which was just something I decided to do. But we're going to get right into this, and then we'll, talk about it briefly. I'll download the movie, and we'll react to it. So let me get this up. Maybe. There we go. And we click to spin and see what we get. So what are we going to get this time? There's a lot of options still on here. Ooh, that's close. And it's juror number 2. Wow, that was like right in between two of them. Like, hold on, let me go back to that. This is a drama, by the way. Look how close that is to Born Identity. That is so damn close. I wasn't even 100% sure which one won it at first until the pop-up came up and said juror number 2. It's so damn close. Okay, but let's talk about it. So, juror number 2 is an interesting film, because this is one that was requested of me by Venom, but I kind of pushed for it because I actually had a friend tell me that I would probably like this movie. They didn't tell me anything about it. They didn't tell me anything about what the movie is like or anything. They just said, there's this movie called Juror Number 2, you would probably like it. I'm like, okay. So I asked Venom, could you check out this movie? Like, not necessarily watch it, but go check out, like, what it's about and everything. And if you think I would like it, like, maybe you could request it. If you want to, of course. Because, obviously, donation rewards are whatever the donator wishes to request. But I just thought, like, I would, like, maybe push a little thing forward there. And again, I know nothing about this. I don't know who's in it. I don't know what it's about. I mean, with the title, Juror Number 2, I can surmise it has something to do with a courtroom. So it's probably a courtroom drama. But that's about all I could guess. And courtroom dramas can be hit or miss for me. I mean, my favorite movie of all time you could consider a courtroom drama, even though it's mainly just the jury room. So I wonder if this is going to be similar to that. By the way, my favorite movie of all time is the original 50s version of 12 Angry Men, in case you were wondering. But yeah, if this is anything like that, I'm almost guaranteed to like it, because favorite movie of all time. But yeah, I don't know. Again, I don't know who's in this. I know nothing about it. I was just told that I would probably like it, which, I've been told I would probably like a lot of movies before that I didn't end up liking. There were people who thought I would like the Lego movie. I mean, why? Just because I like animated movies? Like, what? I don't like the Lego movie, by the way. I know that might be heresy to some people, but yeah. So Juror Number 2, like I said, know nothing about it, so this is going in pretty much completely blind, other than what I can surmise from the title, which isn't a lot. I'm taking it the juror in the number 2 seat is going to be important, probably the main character or something. That's the only thing I can even possibly guess from this. Of course, it might not even be the main character. It might the second juror might just be like someone who like maybe holds up the main character's fate in their hands. I don't know. So yeah, I don't know what to expect at all. But I'm gonna go download this, and then we're gonna go react to it. So obviously, by the time you're seeing this, I'll have done so. You can find the link in the description below, just due to copyright and all that jazz. But yeah, I'm definitely interested to see what this is, specifically because of how it came about on the channel, how it came about being put on the list, and just the fact that, again, I was told I would probably like it. I guess we're gonna find out. Let's get this going. Hold up just a second there. Before you click that link down in the description below to go to today's reaction, I just wanted to take this moment real quick to remind you of all the awesome content we have on the channel. Between Monday and Friday, we have a plethora of awesome series reactions, with 2 on Wednesday. We also have movie reactions every Saturday and Sunday. I do pre-record them during the week, but upload them on the weekend. And don't forget about all the awesome gaming content over on the Princess of Gaming channel. Every single day of the week, we have some awesome Let's Plays for you. A bunch of different things to check out, and more coming in the future. And don't forget to click that subscribe button or like the video if you really enjoy the content I'm putting out. There will be more to come in the future. In the meantime, thank you so much for tuning in, and let's get this going. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So I couldn't find anything like outright confirming if Clint Eastwood had intended this to be kind of like a remake / spiritual successor of 12 Angry Men. But from what I'm seeing, a good amount of people seem to see it that way. It does seem to be a popular viewpoint. Though with kind of some of the stuff in it, like mirroring 12 Angry Men so, like, closely, I feel like it almost has to be, right? It's like there's certain aspects of it that are so, like, ridiculously close. It feels like it would be weird if it weren't the case. You know what I mean? And one of those things that I can note with the end is that we don't know what actually happened. In 12 Angry Men, the case they're taking on is about a young boy murdering his father. This boy, I mean, young boy, he's like 17, 18 years old, something like that. And that the point of the movie is about the jury deliberation and seeing them come to reasonable doubt. The movie and the play it's based on never actually state whether or not the defendant is innocent or guilty, because that's not important. That's not the point of the play. That's not the point of the film. That's not what it's trying to get across. It's about reasonable doubt. So you never actually find out 100% for sure what happened. And the same goes for this. The only thing we can be sure of is that the defendant in this movie didn't do it. Because we see, like, evidence through the flashbacks of juror number 2 that he saw him turn around because he was following him at that exact time. Which does maybe imply that he could have hit her. But we never find that out for sure. All we know is he hit something. We never see what it is. We're never told what it is. We never have confirmation. There is no evidence that it was her. He didn't see anything. Like, we as the audience didn't see anything. But there is a reason to think he could have been guilty. And as, like, his lawyer and everything was saying, his friend, his lawyer, the AA guy, however you want to call him, Kiefer Sutherland, as he was saying, if he turn himself in or whatnot if he admitted to it. He, because of everything, because of the fact that he was at the bar, because of the fact that he had the history of drunk driving that led to him, wrapping his car around a tree pretty much, he would more than likely be found guilty. Because the system would basically play it against him. And they would see what they want to see in that regard. And the ending of this showing Toni Collette's character, the new DA, coming to the door and everything, again, it kind of implies that she's probably going to follow up on this and actually try to prosecute him. But we don't actually 100% know that. And again, this uncertainty is a massive point of the film. It plays with that uncertainty. It plays with the fact that this guy, he might have done it, but he also might not have. He doesn't know. But he's told if they find out, if he turns himself in that regard, then it wouldn't matter whether or not he did it. He would still be punished as if he did. And so he while also kind of trying to figure out if he did it, is also trying to, deal with everybody else's views on it, figure things out himself, and go through this case trying to be as unbiased as possible in the deliberations and all. It's just, it's a crazy situation. The acting in this is, of course, phenomenal. I mean, Nicholas Hoult, Toni Collette, J.K. Simmons, just so many great actors in this. It's, undeniably, a massive highlight of this. But the direction is great as well. The camera work, everything that, makes you understand and feel what all the characters are feeling at any given time. It really works on pretty much all levels. Even the soundtrack really gives you that vibe for everything going on and the emotions you're supposed to be feeling, which is what a soundtrack should do, mind you. But the tension of it all as well plays into the fact that you as a viewer are trying to figure it out just as much. You're trying to piece together information just as much as the characters are. You're kind of playing along with the jury and trying to figure out, okay, did the defendant do it? Did juror number 2 do it? Could it have been something else completely? Could she have slipped? And you're trying to think through all of this. And again, in the end, there's no concrete answer. It doesn't tell you. This movie clearly also dissects the justice system, talking about things like how the prosecution in this case never questioned anyone else, or even the defense never did. How they just focused on this one suspect and just never looked into a single other person or a single other lead or anything else. It's that's pretty insane. But shit like that, yeah, would happen in real life. There's a lot of issues with the American justice system. Again, I don't know about other countries and their justice systems, but the American justice system has a lot of issues. There's a lot of wrongdoings that the system has and still is doing. There's, let's be honest, a lot of racism rooted in it, a lot of sexism rooted in it, and there's a lot that goes into every trial and case and whatnot, and so it's yeah, there might be judges and juries and situations that are handled extremely fairly, but there also are definitely ones that aren't. There are a lot of people who are imprisoned for things they didn't do, who are executed for things that they didn't do. And it goes to show how messed up this system can be. There have been people who have been arrested and imprisoned for life or even executed simply because of the color of their skin. I mean, hell, the Green Mile went into that. Simply because of the color of their skin, they're treated as criminals because they might have happened to be in the vicinity when a murder took place or whatnot. And so, because of that, so many innocent people basically get murdered by the state. That's not justice. That's not fair. And this movie tackles stuff like that. It also tackles how people in a jury can be biased. How even if they don't have a personal connection to the case or anything, they can absolutely be biased and just make decisions based on practically nothing. 12 Angry Men obviously touched on this as well. It really delves into the ways that the American justice system fails. And how it's not only not perfect, but not really working in a way it's supposed to. And you could say, like, oh, but that kind of implies then that maybe he did do it and the defendant is innocent and all. Not necessarily. Again, there's a lot that goes into that. It's a very nuanced situation, a very nuanced discussion to have. And there's a lot of, as they kept pointing out, there's a lot of maybes. There's a lot of maybes, there's a lot of ifs, there's a lot of what ifs. And unless there's any proof, there's not really anything to talk about. Because that's what the American justice system basically begs for. Fact. And it's to such a degree that lawyers will invent facts to get a case to go their way. Juries will invent facts to end a trial quicker. And so on and so forth, etc., etc. This kind of shit happens more than you might think. And it sucks. It's terrible. It shouldn't work like that. But it does. And it causes a lot of problems. And I can't tell you what a proper solution would be. Because again, it's so nuanced, and someone like me who doesn't have all this knowledge of things couldn't rightly give a proper solution. And even people who are more knowledgeable, people who are in that business, lawyers, judges, have never been able to give a proper alternative or solution. That's why we still have this. It's basically considered, and I think this was said also in the film, the best option we have. The best case scenario. But when the best case scenario is not good, that's not exactly reassuring, is it? It causes a lot of problems, but there's also a lot of issues with the American justice system, and more than just even courtroom stuff. There's issues with the way prisons are handled. The carceral system we have in America is fucked up beyond belief and does not work. And it's proven to not work. But it's like no one has come up with anything that would actively work better that is, let's be honest, going to happen or is reasonable to expect to happen. because it would basically require everyone involved in making those decisions to think the exact same way, and they would have to all agree on exactly how to handle this and execute that handling of it in such a well-oiled manner, and that's just not going to happen. There's a lot of issues with how that would go down, and it wouldn't end up like really working the way we would want it to. Um, I like how kind of like the core concept of this though is basically like 12 Angry Men with them going into the jury room and Nicholas Holt's character like basically saying like, "Oh, well, we have to talk about this. There might be room for reasonable doubt and everything." It's like, again, I couldn't find anything that outright confirmed it, but this has to be inspired by 12 Angry Men. It's so close. There's so many things that are so close, and it's just like it's too coincidental otherwise, I feel. Um I'm just I feel like I should probably say what I actually think of the film too. Clearly I loved it. Like my friend was right when they said that I would probably love this movie. Yeah, I loved it. They know I love 12 Angry Men, so it's like of course I'm not exactly quiet about that. I'm very open about that being my favorite movie. So it's like they knew that this would like scratch that same itch for me. Um, I will say it's nowhere near as good as 12 Angry Men in my opinion. I think it's very good. Like I would not say it's exactly perfect necessarily, like 12 Angry Men is. I would still put it like very much up there, but I would not call this like a perfect film. Um, like I consider 12 Angry Men to be. It's it's definitely a lot different than 12 Angry Men. Like I mentioned, it goes a lot more into the stuff outside of the jury room. You get a lot of stuff involving the court case itself, um, the characters, even outside of that. You get stuff like with investigations and whatnot. You get a lot. Again, 12 Angry Men, outside of the opening, like, minute, if that, of the movie, and again, open or closing minute, if that, of the movie, the entire rest of the film is in the jury room. But with this, you get a lot outside of the jury room. And so it has a very different vibe, even though it definitely still feels like a modern take on the same film. It definitely has a different vibe though. And I like that. I like that it's different. Because they tried to remake 12 Angry Men in the 90s. It's not as good. It's not like bad. It's not like terrible. But it's like if the original 12 Angry Men is like a perfect film, like perfect, even 11 out of 10 film, then the remake is probably like a 7 out of 10 at best. It's like it's notably different. It's the same basic story, but in terms of the acting and the directing and everything, it's not as good. Um, but this feels more like a good spiritual successor, kind of following the same general beats, but doing things very differently. The case obviously being very different, um, and having more in the film than just the jury stuff. And I like that it's different. I like that it is its own thing because it allows it to stand out and be its own thing. And I like that there's different twists that you don't see in like 12 Angry Men, like one of the jurors basically being kicked off the jury while deliberations are already going and having to be replaced. You don't typically see that in a lot of these courtroom dramas, but especially in 12 Angry Men. That didn't happen in that. So it's kind of refreshing to see something like that happen here. It sucks that it was J.K. Simmons, and it sucks that it was like, I don't know, maybe just over halfway through the film. But still, it's like, yeah, it's wild that that happened. And various little things like that. We don't even see the final deliberation with the jury. It goes from them like, investigating the crime scene and everything, and all of a sudden the jury's handing in their verdict. Like before that, the last thing we kind of see is like him talking to the other juror, the one who is very much never going to vote not guilty. And that's another thing. The case actually ends completely the opposite way of 12 Angry Men. Because in 12 Angry Men, it all breaks down and it ends up in a not guilty verdict because there's reasonable doubt. And eventually every single man in that room, all 12 of them, like break down and agree that there's reasonable doubt, they have to vote not guilty. It takes longer for some of them, but it does happen. And with this, again, you don't see that final deliberation, but the result is the complete opposite. They vote guilty. And let's be honest, it's obvious it was just to end it. Everybody wanted it ended. And after that discussion with the other juror, he's like, I can't risk this anymore. For my family and everything, I can't risk this anymore. And so he chose clearly to just let it go. Even though it didn't show that, it's clear like what the entire like meaning behind all that was, because we see afterwards that he was like with his wife in the hospital after the baby is born, their daughter. So it's like, yeah, just really interesting how there's a lot of things that are very similar to 12 Angry Men, like the old man and everything, the old man witness, but there are things that are different that play out in a completely different way. And this is not like the first Clint Eastwood directed film I've seen. The big one for me is obviously Million Dollar Baby, which is a movie that I will never watch again. Not because it's bad, but because it's too good. And it's not what I consider a perfect film. I'm not saying it's that good, but it's so good in a way that it makes me so actively physically upset that I could never watch it again. I would not be able to handle it. It is such an upsetting, like, really hard to watch film. But Clint Eastwood shows definitely a lot of directorial skills here with this film, and shows how like intense this can be, and how dramatic and how powerful, how mysterious even. I just really love what he did with this. And again, all the actors did a fantastic job. Like, not just the big ones that I knew. Because it's like, you have Toni Collette in here. She's going to do amazing. Obviously. Nicholas Holt's going to do fantastic. J.K. Simmons is always great. But, like, a lot of these actors I didn't know. Most of them, I would say, I didn't know. And they all did a great job. And I like how there's points where you think something's going to come of it, and it doesn't. Going back to the one juror, the one who's talking to him by the bridge and everything. It's like you really think that they're gonna come to head, and they're gonna like really fight it out in the jury room or something after this. You even maybe think that he's gonna find out that juror number 2 is behind it. But when he's like talking to him, he's like, "There's something strange about you," and he's like, but he doesn't come to that conclusion. And again, it ends the trial right after that. So it's like it kind of plays with your anticipation there. Kind of plays with what you think is going to happen. and then kind of does something different in order to surprise you. It's also when they're investigating the bar, you see the bartender notice him, and you can tell she recognizes him. He even dodges her glance, which is what the other juror noticed and why they were talking at the bridge. It's like, you think that there's going to be something that comes of that. Like, maybe she says something. Nope, nothing comes of it. And it really keeps you on your toes that way. It really makes you, like, wonder if about every little thing that happens and if it's going to go somewhere. I really like that. I just really like that. It's such a good writing decision. I did look up, like, how this was received, and it was received exceptionally well. Like, this got, like, a 90-something on Rotten Tomatoes, which, as always, take with a grain of salt, form your own opinions. But, I mean, I agree. Like I said, though, I don't think this is a perfect film. And it's not that I can, like, point out, like, flaws or issues exactly. It's just, I could see some scenes being done maybe a little better. Maybe a little tiny bit more clarity at the end. Like, you don't have to go into full clarity that about what happened and how this lady died, but just a little bit more clarity, like maybe even with like just her coming to the house and everything. Just some various little nitpicks like that. But it's definitely like a great film, a phenomenal film. It's so good. It kept me invested, kept me guessing, kept me wondering. And a great movie like this is going to do that. So, an absolute plus, absolute success. I'm very glad my friend recommended me check this out. And I'm glad, Venom, that you did end up donating for it. That you did end up, I guess, after looking it up, deciding that it probably would be something I'd be interested in. Very happy to have checked this out. This week was a massive success with the randomization. Like, damn, we got some good ones here. And that actually brings me to something I want to bring up here. I'll probably make a separate video about it as well. But this goes into something I was already kind of like questioning about whether or not we would do. Give me a second here to bring up my calendar. Because, yeah, this, you're seeing this obviously on the 26th. This next week is all January until the weekend. Saturday is the 1st, Sunday is the 2nd, but every other day leading up to that is still January. And so I was kind of questioning, do I want to give it one more week? Even though the movies would be released in February, and so it wouldn't really count for the entire January movie randomization thing. Do I want to give it one more week anyway? Just because most of the weekend, and specifically the days I'd be recording them, are still January. And I've thought about it, and I've decided that I'm going to do half and half. I'm going to do one more movie that's randomized, and that will be released on the 1st. But it's still going to count as the randomization for January. But the Sunday movie that's released on the 2nd will be non-randomized. I think that's the best way to get around it. I think that's what I'm going to do. So again, I'll make another video talking about that. It'll, actually, the video will actually have been up before this, so you'll already know this, actually. Yeah, because the video will be up before the weekend, but just saying, this is where I'm deciding to do it. So, yeah. That being said, tell me in the comments below, what did you think of Juror number 2? Let me know your thoughts. Let me know your thoughts on the acting. Have you seen the original 12 Angry Men? Let me know your thoughts on that as well. And for now, I'm Connie and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.